The sliding glass doors burst open. A cold gust rushed in, and with it, chaos paused. Inside the trauma unit of Atlanta Mercy General, monitors beeped, stretchers rolled, phones buzzed, and the tension of a Monday morning pressed like a storm. Nurses shouted vitals. A surgeon cursed at a jammed gurney wheel. A mother sobbed in the hallway. And then, silence. A German shepherd stood in the entrance, wet, panting, his paws muddy, trembling from the cold, and across his strong back, draped limply, was a young black girl. She looked no older than 12. Her small arms hung at her sides, blood dripping from her fingertips onto the hospital floor. Her school backpack was still strapped to her shoulders, torn and twisted. Her face was swollen. Her braids clung to her cheeks, soaked in rain and dirt. The front desk nurse, a white woman in her 50s, blinked hard. Her pen froze mid-air. "What the hell?" The dog took one step forward. The girl didn't move. Not a twitch. A security guard, bald, white, mid-40s, reached for his belt radio, eyes narrowing. "Where's this mutt from? Some stray from the hood dragged a body in?" No one laughed. No one moved. The German shepherd's eyes scanned the room, locking on every face like he was choosing who to trust. No growl, no bark, just those deep, pleading eyes. A black nurse from Trauma Bay 2 stepped out, voice cracking. "She's breathing, I think." The dog stepped forward again. 3 more steps. His nails clicked against the linoleum floor, his body shaking under the weight of the girl. He stopped at the trauma desk and looked straight at the nurse. Silence again. Then a whisper. "Where did this dog even come from?" a tech muttered behind her mask. The white receptionist flinched when the dog growled low, not at her, but at the security guard who'd stepped too close. It wasn't rage, it was a warning. The dog backed one paw. His ears twitched. He stood between the girl and everyone else. He wasn't a stray. He was a soldier. "Someone help her!" the nurse yelled, breaking the tension. "I need a team, now!" Staff finally moved. A gurney slammed through the hallway. Karen, the black nurse, crouched low with steady hands. She made no sudden moves. She whispered, "I'm here to help, I swear." The dog didn't move. The girl groaned faintly. A dry cough escaped her lips. That was enough. The dog stepped back. Just enough. Karen lifted the girl into her arms. She was light. Too light. "She's freezing," Karen muttered, racing her toward Trauma Room 1. The German shepherd moved with her. One nurse tried to block him. "He can't come in." But the dog wouldn't stop. Another nurse whispered, "Let him." He didn't come this far for nothing. The dog sat at the door of the trauma bay, muscles tight, watching as the girl was placed on the gurney. Wires were attached. Ives set. Her vitals dropped. "She's crashing!" a doctor shouted. Inside the glass door, the dog didn't blink. His eyes stayed on her chest, watching it rise and fall. Slow. Then slower. Security moved in again. The white guard raised his voice. "Get that animal out of here!" "We got real patients." Karen stepped between them, eyes burning. "He's the reason she's alive. You want to move him? You go through me." The guard hesitated. So did everyone else. And in that frozen moment, the dog sat down. Quiet. Still. Watching the girl like she was his whole world. A young intern whispered, "He's not just a dog." No one dared say another word. The machines inside beeped faster. Doctors yelled instructions. Karen held the girl's hand. The hospital came back to life. But outside that trauma bay door, a soaked, shivering German shepherd stayed rooted to the floor, eyes locked through the glass. He had brought her here, and no one, not even God, was getting him to leave her side. The rain had started earlier that morning. Not the loud, violent kind, just a steady southern drizzle, the kind that clung to skin and silence. On the edge of a quiet Atlanta neighborhood, near a rusted chain-link fence and a worn-down group home, she sat. Her name was Amara, 12 years old, quiet, always clutching a red backpack with one broken zipper. The other kids teased her because she didn't talk much. But she wasn't alone. He was always waiting near the back dumpster. The German shepherd. Big. Muddy. Smart eyes. No collar. Amara had found him weeks ago digging through the trash behind the kitchen window. At first, he ran. Then one day, she tossed him the crusts from her peanut butter sandwich. The next day, he waited again. They didn't need words. She'd sit on the back steps while the other kids played on the cracked basketball court. She'd save him the good part of her sandwich and whisper, "Don't tell anyone." He never did. That morning, her backpack held 2 sandwiches, one for her, one for him. But before she reached the fence, a white pickup truck rolled up. Not fast, not loud, just slow, like it belonged. A white man leaned over from the driver's seat, gray hoodie, trimmed beard, fake friendly smile. "Amara?" he called. She froze. Her knuckles clenched the straps of her backpack. He stepped out with a clipboard. "You're Amara Johnson, right? I'm from Child Services. We need to move you today. Your case got transferred." Amara blinked. No warning, no heads up. No one had told her anything. "You weren't supposed to know yet," he said with a chuckle. "But we're behind schedule. I need you to come with me. Bring your things." He opened the passenger door. She hesitated. From the alley, the dog appeared. Quiet, cautious, watching. Amara whispered, "Scout," the name she'd started using for him in her notebook. The man looked at the dog and smirked. "Yours?" Amara shook her head. "Just a stray." "You can't bring animals where we're going," he said sharply. She took a step back. "Can I call Ms. Henderson?" "She's not in today. I've got all your paperwork." He waved the clipboard again. "Come on now. Don't make this harder than it is." Scout took one step forward. A low growl rippled in his chest. The man bent down, picked up a rock, and chucked it. It hit Scout's shoulder. "Get lost, mutt!" Amara flinched. Her instincts screamed to run, but something in the man's voice felt official. And in her life, official always won. So she got in. Scout barked once, loud and sharp, then chased behind as the truck pulled away. Inside the truck, the man said nothing. 15 minutes passed, then 30. The roads got narrower, the trees denser. Street signs vanished. Amara looked out the window. "Where's the Foster house?" He smiled, then locked the doors. She felt it instantly. This wasn't Child Services. She looked at her backpack. No phone. The staff had taken it last week for acting out. Scout was nowhere in sight. The truck pulled off the road and into the woods. Tires crunched over wet leaves. He parked near a half-collapsed tent and a burned-out campfire. "Get out!" he ordered. Amara didn't move. He grabbed her arm hard. "I said get out!" She cried out, twisted, fought. But no one could hear her, and no one came. The forest swallowed sound. No traffic, no voices. Just the wind pushing through the branches like a warning. He dragged her from the truck and shoved her into the tent. Her knees hit hard ground. Her palms scraped against broken glass hidden under leaves. She whimpered, but he didn't care. "Get inside," he barked. She did. He zipped it shut from the outside, locking her in like luggage. The air inside was damp, moldy. A single stained blanket lay in the corner beside an empty beer can. She hugged her backpack like it could protect her. Every few minutes, she listened to his footsteps circling outside. He was talking to someone, laughing, but no one else ever answered. Outside the woods, a road curved around the trees. A red pickup passed by. A woman inside glanced at the forest line. Saw nothing. Heard nothing. She didn't stop. Not for a black girl screaming behind canvas in the middle of nowhere. No Amber Alert. No helicopter. No news break. No sirens. Amara was invisible. Inside the tent, she cried until her throat burned. Then it was quiet. Too quiet. Hours passed, until a noise came from outside. Not his boots. Lighter. Softer. Pause. Scout had followed her. She heard him pacing around the tent, growling low. The man shouted, "You again!" Then a thud. A yell. Scout yelped. Amara screamed. She kicked at the tent wall. "No! Leave him alone!" The canvas jerked open. His hand grabbed her ankle. She twisted, kicked, bit, did everything she could. But he was stronger. He hit her. Hard. Black spots burst behind her eyes. And then everything blurred. She remembered lying on the cold ground, Scout's wet nose pressing against her cheek, the taste of blood, her body aching, her voice gone. He didn't leave. Not once. That night, it rained harder. Thunder rolled through the sky. The man was gone. Maybe asleep. Maybe hunting. But Scout stayed beside her. He nudged her again. She blinked. "Go," she whispered. He didn't. She passed out again. At dawn, he stood, looked down the path, then back at her. His tail twitched once, and he ran. Muddy paws pounded through the woods. He crossed creeks, avoided fences, ducked through trash alleys, sprinted past fast food wrappers and broken glass. He nearly got clipped by a semi-truck. He didn't stop. People saw him on the roadside. Just a dirty dog. Just another stray. No one followed. But he had a mission. Back at the hospital, the shift had just changed. Dr. Simmons was on his third coffee. Karen was reviewing notes from a teenager's asthma case. The trauma bay lights flickered. And then came the scratching. The automatic doors triggered open. Scout stood there, muddy, bleeding, tired. On his back, Amara. Her body dangled, arms limp, blood smeared across her backpack. Nobody knew how far he ran, but it had to be miles, and he had carried her every inch of it. That's when the ER froze. That's when the silence hit. And that's when everything changed. Inside the trauma bay, monitors screamed. Karen pressed a mask over Amara's mouth as two nurses hooked up fluids. Her heart rate dropped again. Beep, beep, then slower. "Pressure's crashing," someone yelled. "Push a bolus, now!" Dr. Simmons leaned in. "Come on, baby girl. Stay with us." Outside the glass, Scout paced. His nails clicked on the polished floor, his head darting every time someone moved. He tried to nudge the door open. When it didn't budge, he let out a low, anxious whine. "He's trying to get in," one nurse whispered. "Security!" the receptionist called. The white guard from earlier stormed in. His voice was louder this time. "Get that filthy mutt out of here! This is a hospital, not a pound!" Scout growled deep in his chest. Not vicious, just tired, protective. "I said now!" the guard barked. "I don't care who he dragged in, it's a biohazard!" Karen stood up from Amara's bed and stormed out. Her face was steel. "Don't touch him." The guard scoffed. "He's not a patient." Karen got in his face. "She is, and she's breathing because of him." The hallway fell silent. Even the nurse at the far end paused with a clipboard mid-air. "You really gonna toss out the only one who gave a damn about that girl?" Karen's voice shook. "You saw her. You saw her skin. And you still hesitated." The guard stepped back. "That's not—" "Don't lie," Karen said. "You looked at her and saw a stray. Same as him." The dog sat down beside the trauma door, not moving, just watching. A janitor pushing a mop nearby whispered, "Damn, he ain't leaving." Inside, Amara's chest finally rose in a steady rhythm. One beep, then two. Her vitals steadied. "She's stabilizing," Dr. Simmons murmured. "Barely, but she's holding." The nurse adjusting her IV glanced toward the window. "She hasn't let go of her backpack." "Not a kid from around here," another whispered. "I'd remember that face." Behind the scenes, staff began whispering. Where did the dog come from? How far did he carry her? Does she even have family? Hospital security pulled up surveillance footage. A wide-angle shot showed Scout approaching the hospital from the edge of the woods. Mud across his coat. A limp body on his back. He didn't stumble. Didn't hesitate. He walked straight through the automatic doors like he knew where he was going. "He chose this place," someone said. "He saved her," another replied. Back in the hall, a young white boy stood holding his mom's hand, staring at Scout. "Mommy, is he a hero dog?" His mother looked down, wiping her eyes. "Yeah, he is." Scout's ears perked up. Inside, Amara's fingers twitched. Karen returned to her side. "She's responding," Dr. Simmons said. "Start fluids slow. Monitor respiration." One nurse set down a blanket on the floor beside Amara's bed. Scout stepped in, carefully, slowly. He curled up beside her, his nose inches from the gurney. His eyes never closed. One nurse whispered, "That dog isn't going anywhere." Karen smiled faintly. "Good. She's had enough people walk away." All eyes were on the security footage. It showed Scout stepping from the tree line, soaked and shivering, the weight of Amara across his back. His paws trembled on the parking lot concrete. He paused once at the automatic doors, looked up as they opened, then walked in without fear. "That dog knew where to go," someone whispered. A younger tech leaned in. "He didn't guess. He chose this place." Police had been called hours earlier, but they took their time. 2 officers arrived just after dawn. Both white, one older, one young. They asked the basics. "Name?" "She hasn't spoken yet," Karen replied. "Parents?" "We don't know." The younger officer raised an eyebrow. "So just a dog brings in a random black girl and nobody's got a clue?" Karen crossed her arms. That's what we said. Now maybe you understand how serious it is. They watched the footage in silence. Scout entering, staff freezing, Amara limp, not a twitch in her fingers. The older officer muttered, "Looks like she was dead weight." Karen snapped. She was still alive, barely, and she's fighting now, because he got her here in time. The cop didn't respond. Out in the hallway, Scout hadn't moved from her bedside. When staff tried to check her vitals again, he simply sat back, giving space but never leaving. A nurse checked his collar. Worn leather. No tag. No chip. "Nothing," she whispered. "He just showed up." The officers asked to speak to hospital administration. Security guards exchanged glances. "She came in after hours. That's not protocol." Karen turned. And if she hadn't, she'd be dead. Downstairs, a detective had arrived. Black, clean suit, sharp eyes. "Detective Morris," he said. "I want the footage, medical intake, and a copy of her injuries." He was different. He didn't ask how clean she was. Didn't question why a dog brought her. He asked about bruises, timing, trauma patterns. Amara was still unconscious, but her hand gripped Scout's fur tighter with every hour. Karen leaned in close, brushing Amara's forehead. "You're not alone anymore, baby." Detective Morris reviewed the photos of her injuries. Purple bruises, wrist swelling, rib fractures. He looked up sharply. "Someone did this," he said. "Not just time in the woods." One of the nurses nodded. She had rope burns on her ankles. "And the staff didn't even want to let the dog in?" he asked. Karen shot a glance at the security guard down the hall. "He said he was just following protocol," she muttered. Morris narrowed his eyes. Protocol's got a funny way of forgetting black girls. One nurse burst into quiet tears. Outside, word had spread. A local reporter showed up with a cameraman. She whispered to a receptionist, "We heard a K-9 walked in with a child. Is it true?" Karen stepped forward. "We're not doing a circus." The reporter hesitated. "We just want to highlight." "Then highlight this," Karen snapped. "A child was taken, left in the woods. She got here not because anyone helped, but because a dog wouldn't give up. And when he arrived, we almost turned him away." Upstairs, Amara's eyelids fluttered. Karen called out, "She's waking!" Scout stood instantly, tail still, eyes locked on her face. Her lips trembled. "Scout," she whispered. A single tear slid down her cheek, and the room filled with silence. She remembered. And now she could speak. "You remember anything about where he took you?" Amara looked down. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Trees, a fire pit, a red cooler. He had duct tape. He said no one was coming. Not for someone like me." Karen clenched her jaw. "Someone like you?" Amara nodded. "He said the world doesn't care about black girls." Scout whined quietly beside her. She reached for his fur and held tight. Morris turned to the nurse. "I need a forensics team back at the site, and notify the Bureau. This isn't local anymore." An FBI van arrived within the hour. Agents reviewed the footage, listened to Amara's voice, and took one look at Scout before nodding. "He let her out," one agent said. "He knew what we're trained to know." The search team returned to the woods with Scout riding in the back seat of Morris's cruiser. They let him out near the tree line. He didn't hesitate. Scout sniffed once, twice, then ran. Through thick brush, mud, discarded wrappers, and broken beer bottles, he led them to the camp, exactly where it happened. They found the tattered tent, a smashed phone, a burnt tarp, and worst of all, blood-stained rope and a girl's missing shoe. Amara's. Agents marked evidence. Photos snapped. Radios buzzed. A perimeter was set. Inside the tent, a single receipt lay under the mat. Gas station, nearby town. Time-stamped 2 hours before Scout appeared at the hospital. That was their break. Authorities flooded the area. Every bus station, every gas stop, every local motel. And then they found him, trying to board a Greyhound. He wore the same hoodie, mud still on his shoes, and in his backpack, Amara's spare clothes, her sketch pad, her broken bracelet. When they cuffed him, he shouted, "It was a misunderstanding. She followed me. I didn't take her." But no one believed him. Not this time. Back at the hospital, Amara was sitting up when Morris returned. She looked at his face. "You found him?" "We did," he said. "He's not going anywhere ever again." Tears ran down her cheeks. Karen squeezed her hand. "You're safe now, baby." Scout sat by her feet, calm, watching, guarding. By noon, news vans surrounded the hospital. Local reporters were first. Then, national. "Dog saves abducted girl. German shepherd brings her to ER. Atlanta's silent hero." Scout didn't care for cameras. He didn't flinch at microphones or flashing bulbs. He stayed next to her. Always. One of the agents approached Karen. "We've submitted Scout's name for the National K-9 Bravery Award." Karen smiled. He wasn't trained for any of this. "Doesn't matter," the agent said. "He did what most trained dogs wouldn't even try." Scout didn't understand praise. But when Amara whispered his name again and pulled him into her lap, he closed his eyes and finally rested. Amara sat in one of them. Scout sat at her feet. It had been 3 weeks since the hospital. 3 weeks since her voice came back, her body healed, and the headlines faded into another cycle. But there was one thing that hadn't been decided yet. "Ms. Johnson," the judge said gently, "we've located an aunt in Chicago willing to take emergency custody. You'll have a room, access to school, therapy." Amara stayed quiet. The judge cleared his throat. "But there's a condition." Her lawyer spoke. "She won't go unless Scout goes with her." The courtroom paused. The social worker stood up. "With respect, Your Honor, Scout is unregistered. No proof of ownership. No vet papers. We can't legally place him." Amara interrupted quietly. "He's not a pet." Everyone turned. "He's the only reason I'm alive. He didn't ask if I was worth saving. He just came." The room went still. The judge leaned back in his chair. He was older. Black. His voice was slow. "You know how many times I've watched kids come through here with no one asking to stay with them?" he said. "Never seen a child bring her own guardian." He looked at Scout, then nodded. "He stays." Amara's eyes lit up. Scout wagged his tail once. That night, they packed one bag. Karen hugged Amara tight in the hospital lobby. "You've got my number. You need anything, you call." "I will," she said. Scout barked softly. Karen leaned down and kissed the top of his head. "You take care of her now. You hear?" The taxi door closed. They pulled away. The hospital faded in the rearview mirror. But Scout never looked back. His eyes were fixed on Amara. A week later, the hospital held a small ceremony. Doctors, nurses, even security showed up. Someone placed a red ribbon around Scout's neck. He blinked once, confused by the applause. But when Amara hugged him in front of the crowd, he stood still, proud and tall. Photos went viral again. Dog honored for heroism. She calls him family. Court agrees. The National K9 Association awarded him a medal the next month. But Scout didn't care for awards. He only followed one person, slept beside one bed, protected one girl. He'd done what the world wouldn't. And now, every night in Chicago, as she drifted off to sleep with her head on his shoulder, Amara whispered the same thing. "You found me when no one was looking." She never had to say thank you. He already knew.